Thank you very much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Nottingham Playhouse. My name's Stephanie Sarah. I'm the Chief Executive here. And we have a really fabulous season to reveal to you this evening. You're our closest and best friends, our biggest supporters, and we're hugely grateful to you for giving up your evening to come and find out more about what we have in store. Before we hear about all the exciting news, I want to say some thank yous as ever. I want to thank you for your support, our amazing staff team here at the Playhouse who work so hard, and also a heartfelt thanks to our sponsors for Nottingham Playhouse. I can't thank all of them, but I would just like to bring out a couple to pay particular tribute to. The first is Nottingham Trent University, who we work really closely with to try and ensure future careers for people from all kinds of backgrounds in the arts. The second is Nottingham City Transport, who have sponsored our pantomime for many years now, and who bring so many of you here to the Playhouse as transport. And we have a new sponsor also who is supporting the Madness of George III, and that's Bruin Dolphin. So huge thanks to those. A huge thank you also to our funders, Arts Council England and Nottingham City Council, without whom there would be no Playhouse, as I'm sure you understand. And finally, to thank those of you who make donations to the Playhouse. We're a charity, as I'm sure you know, and things like the Shine Appeal, which we run, which runs free youth theatres for people who may not be otherwise able to afford them, across the city, across the county. That's going from strength to strength, so thank you so much if you donate to that. And thank you also if you donate to our current appeal, which is 50/50, which literally buys tickets for friends you haven't met yet. So people who wouldn't be otherwise able to afford to come to the Playhouse, you buy them tickets, so thank you so much for that. If you're not a member of Playhouse Pass, I'm sure that's just an oversight. So please do make sure you join up. And if you're stuck for Christmas presents, again, Playhouse Pass. It gives you discounts on tickets. It also gives you priority information and priority booking. What more could you want? So thinking and talking about priority information, I'm now going to hand you over with huge pleasure to Adam Penford, Artistic Director.
Thank you. Thanks. Good evening. Thank you so much for coming out on this slightly drizzly evening. We're going to introduce you to 4 main stage shows which form our spring 2019 season, and we're really excited to be announcing that news. But before spring arrives, we've still got a bit of autumn left to go. So the show that's currently running, I'm sure most of you have probably seen it, is Kinder Transport. It's been receiving the most amazing reviews. It's running until Saturday, so if you haven't got a ticket for that, I really would recommend it. It's incredibly moving. We also follow that with The Madness of George III. I'm in rehearsals for that at the moment. We're just halfway through. We've been rehearsing in London for 2 weeks. We've just moved to Nottingham. We'll be meeting 3 of the cast in a moment. But I also specifically wanted to mention that we'll be doing an NT Live broadcast. So that's when we stream live from Nottingham Playhouse into cinemas around the world, and that's happening on Tuesday, the 20th of November. So we're very excited by that. After that, in the Neville studio is The Elves and the Shoemaker. That's our Christmas alternative for younger people. It's selling brilliantly. The tickets are literally flying. I've got a pencil behind my ear. I feel like my dad. I'm going to put it down for a second. Tickets are flying out of the doors for Elves and the Shoemaker. So if you have younger people, do bring them to that. It's a really beautiful show. And of course, we'll end the year with our pantomime spectacular. This year it's Robin Hood and the Babes in the Wood. Very Nottingham-based title. So we're going to start the evening by showing you an amazing trailer that we filmed in Sherwood Forest. So take that away. Thank you, Stephanie. And we're starting the launch. Thank you.
You're nicked. Gotcha.
It's great, isn't it? It's really good. So obviously pantomime will be featuring all of our regulars, particularly John Elkington as Dame. So if you haven't got tickets for pantomime, book them now. So I'd like to start the launch just by talking about the madness of George III for a second. So please welcome to the stage cast members Deborah Gillett, Adrian Scarborough and Mark Gatiss. She just said, do you not have a mic? I'm lapelled. I'm the only one who gets a mic. So we're halfway through rehearsals. Debs, yes. Do you want to... I know, Adrian's... You only come on in Act 2, don't you, Aid? He's not been on yet. He only makes an appearance at the end of Act 1. Deborah, how are rehearsals going? Are you having a good time?
I'm having a very good time, thank you. It's very nice. We've just arrived here today. And so just to be here feels it's getting closer. We've had 2 weeks in London. Yes. Going very, very well. Isn't it?
Feels like
Scary.
It's very close now.
It feels close?
Yeah.
Good. Adrian, you were in the movie of The Madness of George III, weren't you?
I was.
But playing, obviously, a slightly different role, because it was just a few years ago.
Just a few years ago, yes.
What's it like coming back to something that you have such a special relationship with, but in a completely different genre?
Well, I had a lot more hair then. I played Fortnum in the film, but I never did the stage play, and I always felt like I'd missed out on it, because Fortnum disappears off to start a provision merchants in London about halfway through the play.
True fact.
True fact, yes.
Historically correct.
So I only really was in half the film. So now I'm going to be in the other half of the play.
It's a beautiful thing, isn't it?
Which is a very, very lovely thing. And I'm playing Dr. Willis, who we discovered was a real pioneer of talking therapy, really. So that's going to be very interesting. And I'm also playing a character called Adrian Gentleman.
A gentleman.
Yeah.
We've given him an extra role as a gentleman.
Adrian Gentleman.
But we're trying to disguise him unsuccessfully.
I have the biggest wig you've ever seen. It would not look out of place in Robin Hood. Yes, so I'm very, very excited about it. I'm very excited to be back here. It's wonderful.
Yeah. Adrian played here in A Kiss of a Spider Woman many moons ago, right? How many years ago?
I think it was 2000, something like that.
2,000 years ago.
2000 years.
He looks amazing, doesn't he?
Had more hair then as well.
We've really brought you on to talk specifically about one particular performance that's happening during George III run, which is, it is our 70th anniversary, and we are doing a special gala performance on Thursday, the 22nd of November. Tickets are available for that. So what's going to happen is there'll be a pre-show kind of special drinky canapé type thing. We've got lots of special guests who have an attachment to Nottingham Playhouse, actors and directors who have worked here over the years will be coming as well. And then post-show, you guys will fling off your costumes and come on, and we're going to host a short auction on stage in the auditorium afterwards. Mark, you've got a list of some of the prizes.
I've got a little list.
You've got a little list I provided you with. Should we pick out the highlights?
Right. Afternoon tea at Hearts with me.
Ooh.
Scarbs.
Ooh.
Yeah. Debs. Anybody who wants to come. Brad Pitt. A walk and roll in the panto. I like those rabbit costumes. You should use them again.
We use them every year.
It includes 4 tickets to watch. Nottinghamshire County cricket team signed cricket bat and shirt. A signed book by Sat Baines, Too Many Chiefs, Only One Indian. This is amazing. Nottingham City Transport double-decker driving experience for 4.
Yeah. Yeah.
1 to drive and 3 to scream.
Yeah. People from the Playhouse have done that, and apparently it's a huge amount of fun.
Great.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also, I'm doing a drawing, which we're going to auction for 5 pence. That will be revealed. It's me as the king, and I'm hoping Scarbs and Debs in character, like a Gilray cartoon.
Yeah. Amazing. So I'm sure you agree there's a huge amount of exciting prizes on offer there. So if you do want to buy the gala tickets, they're on sale now. You get all these extras. I think it's going to be a really fun night celebrating our 70th.
Do we have to do the show as well?
Yeah, we have to do the show as well as. That's the thing. So that's very exciting. I'm going to move us on to announce the first show in our 2019 season. This is a return of a show that has done incredibly well. It's the show that people keep coming up to me and saying, when are you going to bring that show back? So we just did, really. And it's called Wonderland, which I imagine quite a few people here maybe saw the first time around. It's set in Nottinghamshire in the early 80s. And it's set against the backdrop of the miners' strike. Beth Steele, who wrote the play, is a local. Her dad was a miner. It got amazing reviews and a fantastic response from the audience. It got standing ovations every single night, which was just a real privilege. So we're delighted to bring it back. And yesterday, this is news hot off the press, yesterday at the UK Theatre Awards at the Guildhall in London, Wonderland won the Best Design Award for the best set out of every regional theatre of the year. That's good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We were thrilled. So now so many people have said, please bring it back, I'll come again. You actually have to come again, otherwise we won't have an audience. So we're just going to show you now a video of the original cast when they went down the National Coal Mining Museum and they did a research trip. And this is the video of them doing that. So we brought the cast of Wonderland to the National Coal Mining Museum near Wakefield. I think today's tour underground is really going to help the actors to have experienced getting in the cage and going down the lift shaft, and particularly to have been guided round by a former miner.
It's bringing what's on the page to life, and it's sort of animating the rehearsal room. You know, they're now going underground and getting the sensations and seeing the grime and the dirt and the low ceilings. It's getting physically the work into them so that they can go back to the rehearsal room and really start to feel it differently.
How many we got on trip? 10? Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's go. Don't forget to smile, lad.
Watch your heads as you're getting it slow here, mate. Right, Martin?
Just down.
It's so different reading about it to then actually experiencing it firsthand and getting a sense for the smells, you know, and the real sense of the darkness and the closeness of it is really, really useful.
Right, off you go. Keep your heads down, please. Have you been mining, Martin?
A lot of the time, actors, we have to imagine things that we have no experience of, but to get first-hand experience, and with the guys who took us down there with real miners, you get an element of what they went through and how it's pushed them physically and mentally. See their band of brothers, the crack, how they sort of interact with us, how they interact with their friends at work. That's invaluable, really, because it's what this play investigates, that community below ground.
You maybe get the impression that it's just hard labour, but actually it's incredibly technical. I mean, just the scale of that place, the kind of miles and miles of roadways that are there is a little bit daunting, thinking that you're just down there in the darkness.
We hit the stage on Friday the 9th of February, which is coming up quickly. I think Nottingham Playhouse audiences are going to absolutely love this production. So in a seamless transition, Debs, Aid and Mark have been replaced by Josh Glenister, John Booker and Beth Schuler. We're going to talk to Beth in a moment about something slightly different, so you sit tight. Josh, you were in the original cast. You're coming back to join us again next year.
Yes.
Yes. Are you able to give a brief overview of the play for somebody who didn't see it, or a recap?
Yeah, absolutely. So the play, as Adam just said, is set during the 1980s in the backdrop, and through the majority of the play, we follow this tight-knit group of miners down into the mine and then throughout the strike. So you get to see the way they come together and have to put up with that kind of ordeal. And then on the flip side, you also see the chaos of what was going on behind the doors of Parliament and the people who were responsible for that strike. So it's a really exciting, interesting slice of history on stage.
Yeah, amazing. It's great to have a local story on stage.
Yeah.
John, you're new
Yes.
to the cast.
I am brand new.
When did you get the part?
Last Tuesday, I think it was. So yeah, I wasn't expecting this. I wasn't expecting this.
I literally sent him an email over the weekend. Do you want to come and talk about the play at the season launch? He's literally just been
why
cast.
not?
Yeah. So you're a local boy, right? Where are you from?
Yeah, Derby.
Derby.
Yeah.
And have you been to the Playhouse before? Have you performed here? What was that? Oh, Derby. We've got Derby.
Hissing.
Hissing? Have you been to Nottingham Playhouse before? Do you have a connection with the theatre?
Yeah, so when I was younger, my family used to come here quite a lot, go to the Panto every year, nice little kind of Christmas Eve thing, and, it's nice to be actually here and, going to have the chance to perform, and, yeah.
It's amazing how many people at first experience theatre by coming to watch our pantomime. It's just amazing. So, Josh, I mentioned before, Wonderland got sort of standing ovations every night, which I've never witnessed before in my 20 years in the theatre, and tears every night as well. What was it like to do the show as an actor? Did you pick up on the tears, and what was it like at the curtain call to receive that response?
It's an amazing feeling, to be honest. As an actor, as a performer, you want to feel like what you're doing is having an effect. So for it to resonate that well amongst people who had experienced it themselves or hadn't experienced it at all, it was so fantastic to see that, and it's such a buzz as an actor to see an audience respond in that way. It's brilliant.
I reckon we've got about 50% of the cast returning. The other 50% have got other jobs. That's the actor's life. So it's going to be quite exciting to have sort of newbies and oldies.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
It'll be fun.
Yeah.
Good. So we're really privileged now. Josh has agreed, which I think is quite daunting, but you did it anyway. He's agreed to perform one of the speeches from Wonderland. So Josh, you're going to do it over at the mic, right?
Yeah.
So you go and take your place. So please give him a warm welcome, because it's quite scary to do this. Josh.
I started down pit when I was 16. Loved it. Couldn't wait to get down. I'd grown up on pitman stories from my father. The camaraderie, the crack, the craft. When I was 19, I got to drive the cutter for the big time. It's a big thing, that. Big thing. But down pit, if you're hard-working and respectful, you get given a chance. Anyway, I did a good job of it, and I was excited, It was the first time in my life I felt like I'd actually achieved something. And when I got home and told my father, he was like, "You didn't, did you?" And I was like, I did. And he was dead proud, dead proud. When my father was dying, he wanted to be cremated. And my mum wasn't happy about that. She didn't want to go talk to a gravestone. She wanted him down there. So one day when we were alone together, I said, "What's it matter? You're dead anyway, and if it gives Mum some comfort." And he raises himself off his pillar, points his finger at me and says, "I've spent most of my life down there. When I'm dead, I'm not going back down." I felt cheated. Like I'd been sold muck for diamonds. What I had been made to believe all my life was precious was dust. The pit. It's just what we've got, what we've made it be for us. My father weren't deceiving me, he was deceiving himself. So when you say to me, "What do I want?" I don't know what I want. I've never asked myself that question. I don't think people around here do. Thank you.
Good done. That was brilliant, John. That was fantastic. I'll now admit, Josh's character doesn't even do that speech.
No.
I just think it's a really good speech, so we had to learn it, especially for tonight. That was seriously fantastic. Well, that was really lovely. What a beautiful speech. So I do hope those of you who saw Wonderland the first time round will come out and support it again. It really is fantastic to give a local writer's play a second outing. And particularly to welcome back so many local performers and some newbies, so thank you.
Exactly.
So we're just going to, you two stay here. We're going to move on to Beth for a second. So Beth is our Artist Development Coordinator. When I arrived at the Playhouse, a big part of what we do is about supporting and helping to develop local artists, particularly those who are emerging artists. And we've been doing that. Giles has always been doing that. But what I wanted to do is sort of formalize it slightly by starting it and giving it a name. So we set up something called Amplify, and that's our artist development program, and we appointed Beth as the coordinator. So Beth, you can explain it better than me. What is Amplify? Why is it important that we do it?
Hello. Amplify is our artist development program, and it's a series of opportunities to support theatre makers at different stages of their career. So we have artists on the scheme who are just at university and are just starting out, and we also have older, more experienced artists who are mid-career and further on down the line. And it's about building that community of makers together, really, and then looking at ways to build them up and grow their careers.
Fantastic. And this is our first year anniversary. It's coming up, isn't it, for Amplify?
Nearly, yeah.
Yeah, so...
Minus 3 months.
3 months, almost. Do you want to sort of pick out some of the highlights and what, for you, have really been some of the successes of this year's programme?
I mean, there's quite a few, but I suppose 3 things that we do that have been great. And one has been idea submissions, and we opened up a submissions process in the spring that you could submit an idea of a theatre piece that you were trying to make or needed some support with, or a script you were writing. And we had a phenomenal response. It was a little bit overwhelming. And we sat down and we kind of shortlisted. And out of that, we've worked with a number of artists to kind of develop what they're making. And 2 of those are in really exciting stages of development. I don't want to talk about that, but they're just exciting.
They're really exciting. We weren't quite sure what we'd expect. We just literally opened it up, didn't we? And said anyone who either lives in the region or has a connection with the region, maybe no longer lives here but were born here, send us your ideas for stuff you want to make in theatre. And it was amazing, the response we got.
It was, and there was such a variety of work and so many different kinds of stories that people wanted to tell and so many different experiences that were in the work and also different genres of theatre that were represented. It was amazing. Yeah. So that was a real highlight.
So what have we got coming up? What's next for Amplify? What are some of the events over the next year?
So over next year, we're just in the middle of opening our Creative Associate submission window, which is we're going to take on up to 4 associates to be on attachment with us for 2 years and to kind of build a much more in-depth relationship with them and really see their careers and advocate for them more nationally and kind of really push them quite hard and embed them more into the building. So that's a really exciting thing to be doing. We'll also be having another festival. We've literally just finished our first festival, which was last week, which is why I'm struggling to get words out.
Which I must say was Beth programmed this festival. It was amazing, the wealth of work you managed to get. It was so impressive.
Well, it was wonderful because we had artists literally, I tried to get it so we represented every single county in the region. So the whole of the East Midlands was represented. And there was like one scratch piece from a company. It was their very first piece and they sold it out and it was just a 25-minute sharing. And then we had a couple of pieces that had been up in Edinburgh and had sold out in Edinburgh and they came down. So it was a really nice kind of spectrum of different types of work as well as different types of story and artist.
That was hosted in the Neville studio, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
And those of you who don't always come to the Neville and tend to come to the main stage, I would encourage you to go and see some of the work in there. It tends to be by emerging artists or work with slightly more avant-garde, I suppose.
And it has a different relationship to space as well, because I think often you think, well, smaller must be not as good, but actually sometimes it's about the relationship that space can bring to an audience and the way that artists get really creative with a smaller space, a different kind of physical relationship and a smaller budget. But that doesn't mean the work's less good. It's really exciting.
It's a really exciting part of what we do, and that's how you find the artists of the next generation. You know, that's what's exciting about it. So just round off, particularly for anybody in the auditorium or anybody who's watching us live online, we're being streamed live apparently on Facebook. It's exciting. So for anybody who would like to get involved with Amplify, sort of who's it for and how do they get involved with the project?
So it's for anyone who considers themselves to be a professional theatre maker or wanting to be a professional theatre maker. So that could be directors, actors, writers, producers, dramaturgs, designers, etc. And that are wanting to work professionally. They need to either live in or originate from the East Midlands. So being local is really important to us, or having that connection to this location is really important. And you can find out about us, we're online, and also we have a membership scheme which just allows you access to things like cheap tickets and be able to pick up rehearsal space when it's available and things like that.
Yeah, that's amazing, thank you. It's been a great first year, almost.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing what we do next. So we're about to announce what our next main stage show will be. So I'm going to welcome to the stage David Almond, and I'm going to say thank you to Josh Glenister, John Booker, Beth Schuler. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Take your mic with you. Cheers, Ben. Hi, David. Come and grab a seat. Hello, sir. Whichever one you want, you've got a choice. It's just you. You're solo. Sit next to me. This is our next main stage show for next season. This is a show that I've been wanting to do for such a long time, and I'm so thrilled we managed to get the rights. It took a while. And it's based on a novel which David wrote, and he also did the adaptation, and it's a novel called Skellig. Now, some of you may have heard of it. It's a modern classic, really. So, Skellig, why don't you tell us, David, about Skellig? What is the story of Skellig? Give us an overview.
It's set in Newcastle. It's set in a house I used to live in. And it's about a boy called Michael who has just moved to this house with his family. It's all tumbled down and dilapidated and needs lots of attention. And Michael's really fed up. And just as they move to this new house, his baby sister is born prematurely, so she's dangerously ill. His parents' attention are focused totally on the baby. And there's a garage at the bottom of the garden, which his parents say, don't go in there, don't go in there, it's far too dangerous. Keep out of there, Michael. So where does he go? He goes into the garage. And in there he discovers a creature. He finds something in there. He's not quite sure what it is. I wasn't sure what it was when I was writing it. And it's about the relationship between Michael and this being. It's the being and the relationship with the baby, the new baby, what's going to happen to her. And also, very importantly, Michael's relationship with his new friend, his neighbor called Mina. And it's that kind of connection of relationships and the kind of mystery that's at the heart of it all. What is this creature? Mm-hmm. What's happening with the baby? What does it mean to be alive, really?
That's great. I'm curious, because I've always loved the novel. Where did the inspiration for the story come from? Where did you come across the idea?
It literally happened to me. I was walking along the street one day and it just started telling itself in my head. It was really amazing. And as soon as it started to happen, I thought, I better start writing this down. I began to write it down. I didn't have a clue where it came from, where it was going. I didn't know what was happening. But as soon as I began to write it, I knew it was the best thing I'd ever written. And it was somehow the culmination of everything I'd written before. And I knew at the heart of it, it was something about young experience, about children, about young people. So it kind of came from nowhere. It's got lots of things from my own life. I had a very poorly baby sister when I was young, just like Michael. My mother had arthritis, just like Skellig. The house that it happens in is just like the house that we were moving to. But the story itself, I don't know.
Right.
Weird. There is a weirdness to it.
I was very privileged to go down to London. When was that? A month ago, was it? Maybe when you did?
Yeah, it's about a month ago.
Yeah, a month ago. To celebrate the 20th anniversary of the book. And there was a new edition being published, wasn't there? So it seems to me to still be as popular, both with adults and with children. So why is it so popular? Do you have a sense of what appeals to people?
It's really hard to say. I mean, it just keeps on selling and being popular, and it's in 42 languages now. I think it's been a stage play, it's been an opera, it's been a film, it's been a radio play, and everywhere I go, people keep coming and say, "Oh, Skellig," and I wrote the thing, and I kind of think, Skellig, where did that come from? But it seems there's something about it that gets deep inside people. And I think it's a very physical thing. It was a very realistic story. It's set in a real world. It's very physical. It's very gritty. It's very kind of dirty. But it also seems to have this mystery at it. And it's interesting, when I wrote the adaptation all these years ago, when I wrote the adaptation, I thought, gosh, look what happens there. There were things in the story I didn't know were there.
Right.
Yeah, I had no idea. And still people come to me and ask questions about it and say, wow, maybe that's right. Yeah, I don't know.
I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you adapted it for the stage and it was on at the Young Vic. Was that the first time? And that was the early 2000s, wasn't it?
It was the early 2000s. And
Trevor Nunn directed, is my memory.
Yeah.
And so what was it like translating it from the novel to the stage? Does it act differently on the stage? Or?
I think it does, and there were things that I had to change. The story's called Skellig and the book's called Skellig, and I found when we put it on the stage that actually in the second half of the story and the book, Skellig is hardly there at all. And I remember talking to Trevor about it. He said, well, where's Skellig, Dave, in the second half? Yeah. So I kind of had to write a new scene. There's a new scene in it, which is quite an angry, kind of quite a bitter scene. So when you put something onto the stage, you realize you have to throw away lots of stuff. Lots of stuff has to go missing. And you also realize that there are things that people read in a novel that if you then put them on the stage, things about chronology and possibility, it's not the possibility of somebody being weird and having wings. It's the kind of chronological progress of the story. And so that couldn't happen. So I had to take out some of those things and disguise it and readapt it. And I think you've got to be willing to chuck out lots of stuff and to be quite brutal and hack and chop and change. So we did a lot of workshopping. In fact, it's really interesting meeting Adrian Scarborough. Adrian Scarborough was in the first workshops for Skellig all those years ago. Yeah. It was so moving to see him. Yes, he played Dad in the workshops. But I learned so much from working with directors that I always do, and I love the process of taking the story and then recreating it for stage. It's a wonderful thing to happen, and it shows that stories in books, they look fixed and set, but they're not. They keep on changing and growing. I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens here.
It's great. Well, it's being directed by a director called Lisa Blair, who's someone who actually, she worked as my assistant director about 10 years ago. And she's just had a major success with Jerusalem, which is the Jez Butterworth play that Mark Rylance starred in the West End. She was the first person to revive that over the summer and received 5-star reviews. So when I was thinking who would best direct it, I'm really interested in Lisa's work. So that's really thrilling. And the other reason I wanted to choose it was that both the novel and the play is so visual. Yeah. It sort of is it's a real gift to a director it's full of challenges. How am I possibly going to stage that? But that tends to lead to the most inventive, creative stagings. And that's why I was thrilled that we're doing it. The idea was that, obviously, I think some of you would have seen our production of Holes, which was on in April. And this is in a very similar time slot. And the idea behind Holes was to have a play each year which brings in both schools audiences, but also family audiences, that young people will enjoy, but adults could come on their own if they wanted to. Holes did that. And I felt sort of the pressure of finding out what we were going to follow that up with. And then suddenly I remembered Skellig, and I thought that's the one for the second family show slot. We're very privileged now. You've agreed to read a section of the novel, haven't you? I have. Which is amazing. Are you going to do it over at that mic?
I'm going to do it over there.
Great, yeah. So David's agreed to read a bit of the book. So please welcome him warmly and go down there.
So I'll read a bit from the beginning so there's no spoilers. And it literally did just come to me. I was walking along the street and this story started coming. I found him in the garage on a Sunday afternoon. It was the day after we moved into Falconer Road. The winter was ending. Mum had said we'd be moving just in time for the spring. Nobody else was there, just me. The others were inside the house with Dr. Death, worrying about the baby. He was lying there in the darkness behind the tea chests in the dust and dirt. It was as if he'd been there forever. He was filthy and pale and dried out, and I thought he was dead. I couldn't have been more wrong. I'd soon begin to see the truth about him, that there'd never been another creature like him in the world. So the story's told by Michael. They've moved to this house, which is all dilapidated. He doesn't want any of this to happen. The baby sister's born prematurely, and then he's told not to go into this garage. I finished the Coke, waited a minute, then I went down to the garage again. I didn't have time to dare myself or to stand there listening to the scratching. I switched the torch on, took a deep breath, and I tiptoed straight inside. Something little and black scuttled across the floor. The door creaked and cracked for a moment before it was still. Dust poured through the torch beam. Something scratched and scratched in a corner. I tiptoed further in, and I felt spider webs breaking on my brow. Everything was packed in tight. Ancient furniture, kitchen units, rolled up carpets, pipes and crates and planks. I kept ducking down under the hose pipes and ropes and kit bags that hung from the roof. More cobwebs snapped on my clothes and skin. The floor was broken and crumbly. I opened a cupboard an inch, shone the torch in, and I saw a million woodlice scattering away. I peered down into a great stone jar and saw the bones of some little animal that had died in there. Dead blue bottles were everywhere. There were ancient newspapers and magazines. I shone the torch onto one and saw that it came from nearly 50 years ago. I moved so carefully. I was scared every moment that the whole thing was going to collapse. There was dust clogging my throat and nose. I knew they'd be yelling for me soon, and I knew I'd better get out. I leaned across a heap of tea chests, and I shone the torch into the space behind, and that's when I saw him. I thought he was dead. He was sitting with his legs stretched out and his head tipped back against the wall. He was covered in dust and webs like everything else, and his face was thin and pale. Dead blue bottles were scattered on his hair and shoulders. I shone the torch onto his white face and his black suit. "What do you want?" he said. He opened his eyes and looked up at me. His voice squeaked like he hadn't used it in years. "What do you want?" My heart thudded and thundered. I said, "What do you want?" Then I heard them yelling for me from the house. "Michael! Michael!" I shuffled out again. I backed out through the door. It was Dad. He was coming down the path at me. "Didn't we tell you?" he said. "Yes," I said. "Yes, Dad." I started to brush the dust off myself. A spider dropped away from my chin on a long string. He put his arm around me. "It's for your own good," he said. He picked a dead blue bottle out of my hair. He thumped the side of the garage, and the whole thing shuddered. "See," he said, "imagine what might happen." I grabbed his arm to stop him thumping it again. "Don't," I said. "It's all right, Dad, I understand." He squeezed my shoulder and said that everything would be better soon. And he laughed. "Get all that dust off before your mother sees her." Thanks.
Great. Thank you. So good. Thank you so much. What a privilege. Absolute privilege to hear the author reading there. I can't wait. I would just want to stress, actually, that we had some audiences who came to see Holes, adults, who said, "Oh, I thought it probably wouldn't be for me, but when I came to see it, I really enjoyed it." And I just want to sort of plug that, really, to say that Skellig on stage, will, as indeed the book is absolutely for anybody of any age. It's not just for young people. So do come and watch that show. It's going to be fantastic. Thank you for agreeing to read. You're going to stay with me a sec, because I'm lonely on the next bit. I don't have a guest, because I'm about to announce what the third show of the main stage season is. And it's a revival of a comedy drama, which is sort of a modern classic, really. And it's called The Memory of Water by Sheila Stevenson. When I arrived at Nottingham, I assumed they would have done it before. But it hasn't ever been done here before, which is thrilling, because it meant I could program it. And it's basically about three sisters who go to their mother's house on the eve of her funeral. And they go to sort of get stuff together, to pack up her belongings, and to prepare for the funeral the next day. There's Mary, who is the sort of middle daughter, who's quite unhappy in her life. She's having an affair with a married man. She keeps waiting for the man to leave his wife. It doesn't look like that's going to happen. The eldest daughter, Teresa, is the one who sort of stayed around the local area, and she feels that she's been looking after their mother while she's had Alzheimer's. And then the youngest daughter is Catherine, and Catherine is sort of the rebel child who's off traveling, doesn't seem able to settle down or keep a job. These three siblings don't really get on. They tend to argue. But it's a beautiful play with these three strong central female characters, which is one of the reasons I chose it. And although it's about sort of death and also memory, the three siblings don't seem able to agree on their childhood. They all misremember things slightly. The drama comes out because that leads to a series of revelations where they realize that there are certain skeletons in the closet. So it's quite gripping, some real twists. but also very funny. So Sheila Stevenson couldn't be here tonight, the author, but she did send us a video from an amazing location. I don't know where she is, but you'll see it looks amazing. So we'll play the video of that now.
Hi, I'm Sheila Stevenson and I wrote The Memory of Water. I'm absolutely thrilled that Nottingham Playhouse are doing this play. Nottingham, one of the great repertory theatres in England. I went there a lot when I was young, when I was at Manchester University reading drama. So I know the place quite well. Lots of people assume that this is an autobiographical play. In fact, lots of people ask me this all the time. Is this about your real life? But it isn't really. It's about, I mean, it's true in the sense that my mother died and I wrote the play after her funeral. But the things that happen in the play aren't true. None of those things happened, thank God, really. It is a comedy about going to a funeral, but it's also extremely sad. So don't think this is my life. I have sisters. I have 4 sisters. I'm not one of 3. I'm one of 5 daughters. So it's not autobiographical, but it is true. And I think the reason people respond to it is because everybody has a mother and lots of people have sisters. And it's a play about women and mothers. So it seems to ring universally true all over the world, which was a surprise to me as much as anyone else, I think. I mean, it's been done everywhere. It's been done in every language you can think of, and there must be some universal language about mothers and daughters which appeals to people. I'm very, very sorry I can't be with you today, but I am in this beautiful vineyard in the south of France where autumn has just started. And I will be with you in the spring to see the show. I'll be up to see the show. And I can't wait. Very, very good luck with the season. Great launch. I hope you're having a great time. And I'll see you in the spring.
How much does everybody want to be in the south of France right now? That dog looked like he was having an amazing time. Lucky Sheila. So the play premiered in the mid-90s, and it won the Olivier Award for Best Comedy. It ran in the West End for ages, starring Alison Steadman. We've just started our casting process, so we're looking forward to getting some exciting actors on board for it. So I think it's going to be a terrific production, and one that will kind of appeal to everybody. It's such a popular play, and it's performed so often, which is why I was surprised that it hadn't been done here beforehand. Because I think everybody's got family, and everybody's got siblings, maybe, or most people have got siblings, and a lot of people have dealt with death, so it sort of reaches out to everybody. And it's set in the northeast, not that you can tell it from Sheila's accent, which is obviously where Skellig's set. Is there something about the northeast that tends to breed writers, or?
I think it looked a bit like Tyneside, but
Tyneside by the sea.
But yeah, there is something. I mean, of course, I think there's something significant about the northeast and about the kind of the storytelling and the language, and there's something about the northeast which is very powerful. And you know, maybe the cultural compass is shifting away from where we think it should be. Not even mention it.
Which is a good thing.
I think it's a very good thing. Yes.
Good. Before we announce the 4th show in the season, I'm just going to announce another bit of incredibly exciting news. Really exciting. I've been working on it for quite a long time. To explain it, I want to invite to the stage Amanda Whittington and James Graham. Come and take a seat, guys. You can stay. I'll send you off in a minute. Hello.
Hi.
Hello. You made it. James was on a train about half an hour ago, texting me furiously. And then he said, is it all right if I wear a jumper?
But what a jumper, look at it. It's a bit loud, sorry.
Amanda and James are joining us because they have agreed to become Nottingham Playhouse Associate Artists. Associate artists are something that I've been wanting to do ever since I got the post as artistic director a year ago, which is to invite 4 artists who all work in different fields within theatre to come and join and be advocates for Nottingham Playhouse. So the job is multifaceted. They will help me with programming the work so that it's not just the choice of one person. We have a much more diverse range of voices who are contributing to the artistic decisions. So not just the work on the main stage, but the stuff we do in the studio and all artistic policy. And also to advocate for us, to go around the industry and promote Nottingham Playhouse. And there's many other duties that I think we'll discover as we go, because they all bring specific talents and skills and knowledge. So I keep saying 4. So Amanda is one, James is another. The third is Matthew Zia, who some of you might know because he directed Shabeen here earlier in the year. Matthew couldn't be here because he is directing a show at RADA, I think. But I know he sent a video message, so we'll play that now, and then we'll speak a little bit more about the associate artists.
Hi, my name's Matthew Zia, and I'm a theatre director. I was last at the Nottingham Playhouse in June of this year making a show called Shabeen by local writer Mafaro Makubika. That play went on to transfer down into London. It also won the Alfred Fagan Award, an exceptional new writing award for playwrights of Afro-Caribbean heritage. I had a great time making that play, and I'm really looking forward to coming back and joining Adam as an associate artist at the Playhouse. Now, for me, that means kind of being a reflective surface, someone that Adam can bounce ideas off of, talk to. I can read scripts, I can find projects and put them on a table for him, and ultimately I can help him and support him as he shapes the vision for the Nottingham Playhouse. I think the work that Adam has done so far has been transformative. I really do. It feels like the Playhouse is really speaking to the many, many different demographics contained within Nottingham, which is a vibrant city. So I'm looking forward to deepening my relationship with Nottingham and the Nottingham Playhouse itself. I hope you're all having an incredible season launch. I think there's a little bit more news coming a little bit later on, so I'm sworn to secrecy until then, but I might be returning to make a show. Have a great launch. Bye-bye.
A reflective surface. He's so much more eloquent than me, Matthew Zia. It's really thrilling that Matthew's joining as an associate. He's a brilliant director. It's really exciting. James, I'm going to kick off with you. Why did you accept my invitation to become an associate artist?
I misread the letter. I thought it was free tickets to. So no, I didn't. I couldn't say no, really. Hi, my name's James. I'm a playwright, and I was born in Kirkby in Ashfield in North Nottinghamshire. Oh my God, hi. And I've been away for sort of 10 years working all over different places, and I've started to come back to the city, and this just felt like too good an opportunity to be true. I love this theatre, I love this city, and I'm so excited about what you're doing with it. It was the greatest thrill to come back here and watch Beth's play Wonderland and see this auditorium full of people feeling like they had a story for themselves. And I just was really intrigued by the prospect of being a reflective surface, whatever that means. I just really, to be part of a conversation with you and with your artists and with the community, it feels really exciting to be joining Amanda, whose plays I've loved ever since Be My Baby. So it just felt like a no-brainer, really.
James is one of our major playwrights. How many plays did you have running in the West End recently?
I can't say that.
Yes, you can, because I've fed it.
I had 4 last year, but...
4 plays in the West End? I just wanted to embarrass him, really. Amanda.
Yes.
You're local.
I am. I'm a local playwright for local people.
Where are you from?
Keyworth.
Yeah.
Hey!
Why is regional theatre so important to you? Are you able to put that into words?
Yeah, I think, the vast majority of people who engage with theatre start locally, don't they? Whether it's school, the first engagement I had was with Roundabout Theatre and Education Company from here, or their local amateur drama society, or they come here, and certainly my engagement was with the Nottingham Playhouse as a teenager, coming here in the mid-80s on 50p tickets from the council and just seeing this amazing range of work. And I think, in a way, the term regional theatre it's British theatre, isn't it? Because London, we have this perception that London is the centre of the industry, and it is, and there's a lot of fabulous world-class work going on there. But actually, what's happening across the country is the picture of British theatre, isn't it? In villages and in towns and in cities. So I think regional theatre is where where we all kind of connect with theatre, really. And, you know, often we go to London and see stuff and it's great. But actually it's our sort of week in, week out, month in, month out, year in, year out connection is with the regions. And that's why it's essential, because I think it is, you know, the lifeblood of theatre in this country. That's not to say I don't want 4 plays in the West End, but, you know.
Someone told me you're the most performed female playwright in the UK. Is that correct?
It is if you, my publisher, that includes all the professional and the amateur productions. Yeah, it is.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. Round of applause. Here you go. Who needs 4 West End shows?
Yeah.
Must try harder. Sorry.
Yeah, keep up, James. Come on. 75 productions a year.
The other thing that you've got a really cool job at the moment, but I know my mum will be nice to hear about. What are you working on?
Oh, I've been writing The Archers this year.
There you go, Mum.
Which has been the steepest learning curve and the most frightening thing and the weirdest kind of through the looking glass, and suddenly sitting down and thinking, oh my gosh, I'm writing this thing I've been listening to all these years. But it's been great because I think as a listener, if you know The Archers, you have this kind of inner Ambridge, and once you've figured out all the kind of the Sudoku puzzle of your storyline and the synopsis you have to submit, when you actually start writing the script, it's so incredibly familiar. So very different to a stage play because it's material that's given to you rather than stuff that's coming out of you. But I'm having a ball with it, and they're just the loveliest team of writers, and great creative team.
Great.
So yeah.
Have they written the Christmas show yet? That's the bit I care about.
At the moment, that's ongoing.
Amazing. Yeah. So James, local lad, did you used to come to the Playhouse when you were growing up?
Yeah, of course.
What did you see? What's your memory?
Well, like most people, probably pantomime was the access point for me and for theatre. But school trips. I mean, like Amanda, I started off. I wouldn't be here as a playwright without my school, Ashford Comprehensive in Kirkby, and they took us to this building when I was younger. I remember seeing my first ever Beckett here, Endgame, which I think had Alistair McGowan and not Jim Bowen, he did the darts. Who's Jim? Somewhat. James Boland, there we go. Thank you. Different. And actually, I remember, and then one of my memories was working here. I did work experience when I was working out what I wanted to do, and very kindly I got allowed access to work backstage with the props department, and I worked years ago. You probably don't remember, a show called Rat Pack Confidential was here.
Yeah, did really well.
Did really well, and I for a couple of nights they let me do the follow spot, which was a huge responsibility. And I missed half the first show, but I gradually got it. And it's I love this auditorium, and I love the shows that go on here and its place in the community. So I look forward to helping you however you want me to help you. I'm sure I won't make it worse, so even if I just keep it the same, that'll be fine.
Well, you used to work on the stage door of the venue that must not be mentioned, didn't you?
I did, yeah. But I was trying to bring it down from the inside. That was my... yes, round the corner there is another theatre, but my heart was always here, even if my body was over there.
Amanda, what do you sort of hope to achieve as associate? Do you have goals what's your aim?
I think what's going to be really interesting about being associate is having a relationship with Nottingham Playhouse that isn't about my work necessarily, that's about all the work, and that sort of being part of that artistic conversation in terms of the choices that you make as an artistic director, and how the work gets on, how the work gets made, and how you put all that together. And I hope I can make a contribution to that, and also to be working with emerging artists, and particularly writers. I was an emerging artist in Nottingham who came through Nottingham Playhouse, and it will be... I hope I can make a difference to some of those new writers coming through, and use what experience I've got to sort of feed into the bigger picture, really. And it's, writing's quite a solitary job, and we love that solitude, and that's part of it. But actually, it's great as a theatre writer to come into a building and make work, but it's also really exciting to be coming in and being part of all that, the decision making, I guess, or just the vision of the place. So I hope to achieve play my part in that, I think.
I mentioned that the before associates, so far we've only mentioned 3, and that's because I'm going to do something which is quite unusual for an artistic director when appointing associates. Usually you appoint by invitation, but what I wanted to do with the 4th place is actually open it up. So we're going to advertise for our 4th associate, which I think is going like live online right as we speak or something. Someone's pressing like send or post. And we're looking for an artist who really who has an interest in regional theatre, probably a good knowledge of our region specifically, who's interested in supporting other artists at various stages of their career, and would like to help shape the artistic vision going forward with me and you guys. So that's live now, and we'll see who our 4th person's going to be, but that's really exciting. It felt important to me to open that out so that it was truly accessible to all artists who are working at the moment. You guys are going to stay on, but I just want to say a huge thank you to Matthew on the video, and Amanda and James for agreeing to be our associate.
Thank you.
Thank you. Relax. I'm on my penultimate card. I'm like Graham Norton with these cards, aren't I? Shuffling them. So we're about to announce our 4th and final main stage show for the spring 2019 season. I'm really thrilled about this. It's going to be the regional premiere of an American play, and it's called One Night in Miami. Let me explain what it's about. It's set in America in 1964. And it's set on the evening when Cassius Clay won the World Heavyweight Champion Boxing Championship. And instead of going out on the town, he went back to a Miami motel room with some of his mates to celebrate. It just so happened that those mates were Muhammad Ali, Jim Brown, the football player, and the soul singer, Sam Cooke. And there they had a night in where they ate vanilla ice cream. And they debated what was going on in America at the time. It's a fictionalized account, of course, because no one really knows what happened in that private motel room. But the American author Kemp Powers has invented what that conversation is. Kemp couldn't be here because he lives in America. But he sent us quite a funny homemade video where he answers a few of the questions we put to him. So we'll play that now. Thanks, Martin.
Oh, well, you know, this play was basically my attempt to do justice to 4 of probably the most inspirational figures I ever had growing up. Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali, Jim Brown, and Sam Cooke. In many ways, you could say my discovery that these 4 wonderful men were actually friends in real life is kind of like accidentally discovering the Black Avengers. Each one stood for a very different but equally important element of Black manhood during the time that they were friends in the 1960s. And this one pivotal night, February 25th, 1964, it's maybe one of the most interesting confluences of power, Black power, that's ever happened that people don't know too much about. So while it's a work of historical fiction, everything in this play is based on real things, real events, real elements of the friendships between these men. And I just wanted to bring that to an audience, that a youthful audience in particular, so that hopefully they will be inspired the way I was inspired when I first discovered that it happened. Well, yeah, it is a lot of responsibility to put words in the mouths of basically titans. But what I found made this process a little bit easier for me is to remember that at the time that this all happened, they weren't the icons that we know today. They were 4 relatively young men. Both Cassius Clay, soon to be Muhammad Ali, and Jim Brown were just 2 young guys in their 20s. Meanwhile, Sam Cooke and Malcolm X were 2 men in their 30s. The night that Cassius Clay actually beat Sonny Liston and became World Heavyweight Champion, he was only 22 years old. So I tried to put it into more of a modern context. What must it be like to be young and suddenly successful and suddenly powerful in dealing with this sense of responsibility that's hoisted upon you? And by kind of just letting these guys be real young men and using that as a foundation, just letting them kind of be guys, it really opened it up and helped me relax when I started writing this piece.
City of Nottingham is a really exciting place to have the play show up. Nottingham is a very diverse English city, and I think that there are elements of the play that can appeal to a variety of different groups within Nottingham, regardless of your race, creed, or color or gender. I think there will be something in this play for you. The play has been received phenomenally everywhere that it's been, and I'm super optimistic that the same thing will happen when it lands here. So I hope you give it a chance when it comes out next year in 2019. I'm super excited to see what Matthew Zia, Adam Penford, and all the folks at Nottingham Playhouse cook up, and I'll see you at the theater. Thank you.
That's Kemp all the way from America. As he said, so Matthew Zia, who directed Shabeen, will be coming back to direct that production, which I'm thrilled about. It premiered at the Donmar Warehouse in the UK, in London. James, you must have seen it.
I did. It's extraordinary.
It's a great play, right?
It's a wonderful piece of writing. It takes a snapshot in history that feels very depressingly slightly relevant now in terms of the tensions that are over there. But it's so entertaining and so moving, and the music is extraordinary. So you're going to have an amazing time. I can't wait to see it again.
Yeah. Music. You mentioned music. Gosh, you're good. So we have one piece of casting for One Night in Miami, which is we have cast the role of Sam Cooke, the soul singer. Now, that is being played by Matt Henry. Matt Henry was actually here in The Harder They Come, if you remember that musical that was here quite a few years ago. And he has since gone on to win the Best Actor in a Musical Olivier Award for Kinky Boots in the West End. He is also a finalist on The Voice, on the television programme The Voice. He can't be here today, but he has sent this video. It's quite a chirpy video. Let's have a look at that.
Hi, I'm Matt Henry, and I'll be playing Sam Cooke in One Night in Miami. I'm really excited about joining this production at the Nottingham Playhouse. It's actually the second time of me coming to this city, so I'm really excited. To play the legendary Sam Cooke for me is a dream role come true. I'm a massive fan of Sam Cooke, because I've always been a massive fan of his music as a young boy growing up, and I think it was one of the reasons why I fell in love with singing. His beautiful tones and just the emotive vocals that he gives in his performances was something that I kind of always tried to emulate growing up. I connect with Sam in this production, in Kent Power's production, because I feel we meet him at a time where he is a young singer-songwriter. Like myself, I'm a singer-songwriter, and we both have a relationship in the sense of growing up in the church, listening and singing gospel music. I mean, Sam was a member of I think they were called the Soul Stirrers at the time. And so, yeah, you know, a lot of black artists in the 1960s actually came from the church and then crossed over into the secular market of pop and R&B. I think audiences will absolutely be blown away by this production. The fantastic storytelling and playwriting by Kent Powers. It's a play that's been, you know, it's driven by passion, emotion, humour, and it has great energy and a great heart behind it. It's a story of four friends, friendship coming together, and over the course of one night, you know, their experiences end up changing them and making them into the people who we know and love today. Please come and see this production. I think you'll have a fantastic night out. And yes, I look forward to seeing you next year. Take care.
It's a real thrill to have Matt back here. He's an amazing talent. It is a beautiful play. So Matt couldn't be here tonight. Sam Cooke, during the show, the others tease him for writing white music without soul. And he slowly starts to discover a new song during the course of the play. And the play sort of climaxes with him writing A Change Is Gonna Come, that iconic hit. So I'm so thrilled that tonight we are going to have someone sing that song. It's a wonderful West End performer called Ashley Samuels. He's accompanied on the piano by Tom Atwood. Please welcome them to the stage, Ashley and Tom.
and just like the river I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gon' come. Yes it will. It's been too hard living, but I'm afraid to die, 'cause I don't know what's up there beyond the sky. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gon' come. Oh, yes it will. I go to the movie and I go downtown. Somebody keeps telling me don't hang around. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gon' come. Oh, yes it will. Then I go to my brother and I say, brother, help me please. But he winds up knocking me back down on my knees. Lord, there's been times that I thought I couldn't last for long, but now I think I'm able to carry on. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gon' come. Oh, yes it will.
You're gonna sing. Wow. Ashley, that was absolutely stunning. Thank you so much to you both. Oh, seriously, that was just that moment in the show where Sam Cooke discovers that song, set against the backdrop of everything that's happening in America in 1964 outside the motel room, I think is one of the most powerful moments in theatre I've ever seen at the Donmar. So I can't wait for that to play out here. That was beautiful. Thank you very much. We're kind of there. It's almost the end of the evening. I just want to thank everybody who's come on stage this evening. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Everyone else who's been on beforehand. Thank you. I hope I haven't spoken too quickly. And particularly all of you for your ongoing support. Everybody at the theatre works incredibly hard to do all the work that we do, not just on stage, but in the education and participation department, on box office and in the bar and everywhere in the theatre. And we all really do appreciate your ongoing support. We couldn't do it without you. To play us out, Ashley has agreed to sing us one more song. I know, right? Brilliant. It's another song that Sam Cooke sang, What a Wonderful World. Thank you very much.
Don't know much about history, don't know much biology, don't know much about a science book, don't know much about the French I took, but I do know that I love you that if you love me too, what a wonderful world this would be. Don't know much about geography, don't know much trigonometry, don't know much about algebra, don't know what a slide rule is for, but I do know 1 and 1 is 2. And if this one can be with you, what a wonderful world this would be. Now, I don't claim to be an A student, but I'm trying to be. For maybe by being an A student, baby, I can win your love for me. Don't know much about history, don't know much biology, don't know much about a science book, don't know much about the French I took, but I do know that I love you. And I know that if you love me too, what a wonderful world this would be. La ta 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 ta. Whoa. But I do know that I love you. And I know that if you love me too, what a wonderful world this would be. What a wonderful world this would be. A wonderful world this would be.
That's great. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ashley. Get home safe. Thank you for coming. Good night.